moved into my house about a decade ago. I used to live on the opposite side of town. I won't bore you with the details of why I moved and all that. Instead, I will skip to when I first set foot in my house. It was an open house day, and I was the only person there. I guess nobody else was looking for a new home at the time. Anyway, I was checking out the kitchen when I found something unusual. There was a digital clock on one of the walls, but as I observed it, I realized that it was a timer. When I asked the real estate agent about it, he said that he had no idea what it was for. The house was built in 2001. The people responsible for its construction never explained the timer's purpose. Everyone who's lived in the house claimed that nothing happens when the timer hits 0. The timer then resets itself at a time different from the previous one. For example, one of the former homeowners was in the kitchen when she saw the timer set itself for 7 hours. 7 hours later, the timer blinked a few times before resetting itself to 90 minutes. Since the timer hasn't caused any problems, everyone just ignored it. I liked the house and the price was great, so I bought it. I was unpacking my stuff in the new home when I felt something brush by me. I looked around but saw nothing. I assumed it was a draft until I realized that all the windows were closed. That night, I went to the kitchen to grab a beer when I noticed the timer. It had just reached 0, and I'd felt like something had moved past me again. But like the last time, I didn't see anything. It took a few more episodes for me to realize the pattern. If I'm in the house when the timer reaches 0, the weird sensation occurs until the timer resets. I'll admit that it did scare me a little at first, but over time, I learned to ignore it. About 4 months passed, and my friend Rodney decided to come over with his cousin, Ro. For context, Rodney's dad moved from South Korea to the US 20 years before he was born. Ro was a shaman from a small village in South Korea. When Ro entered my house, she stopped at the doorway and looked around. Both Rodney and I looked at her confused. When asked what was wrong, Ro said something that was more baffling. "This is a Crossroad house," Ro said. She explained that Crossroad houses provide spirits with passageways to different worlds. These houses were originally meant to help spirits of the dead cross over. However, other spirits started using these portals too. Some were even demons. Just as Rose said that, every light bulb in the house suddenly burned out. When the place was dark, strange beings emerged from the walls before disappearing somewhere else. These things varied in forms, such as orbs and apparitions. It reminded me of the graveyard scene from the Haunted Mansion. I froze as one demon passed by me, staring me down before disappearing through a wall. This lasted for a few seconds before every spirit vanished from my house. I stood there trying to process what had just happened. I then noticed a faint green glow from the kitchen, the same color as the numbers on the timer. I checked the clock on my phone and saw that it was 5:23 p.m. I then recalled what the timer showed that morning. It was 7:40 a.m., and the timer was at 9 hours and 42 minutes. I did the math and realized that the time ended a minute ago. I then made my way to the kitchen and checked the timer. Sure enough, it had reset itself. After putting 2 and 2 together, I finally understood the timer's purpose. I returned to the living room and explained everything to Rodney and Ro. I didn't understand why the spirits made their presence known like that. Not to mention that they've never made themselves visible before. According to Ro, the scene that unfolded was due to the high traffic. There was so much collective energy that it affected the electricity in the house, and of course, made the spirits visible. After that, Ro taught me how to protect myself from dangerous spirits. Just carry around a blessed amulet and do a Korean chant every morning. I still live in the Crossroad house. To this day, the only people who know the truth are me, Rodney, and Ro. No one else would believe us anyway. My house hasn't experienced another high-traffic episode yet. Not while I'm at home, anyway. I'm used to living in my Crossroad house now. I'm willing to spend the rest of my life here, so long as the amulet and chant keep me safe.